behind the podium, so it's easier to film for tonight. And those of you that have been here at events know that this is not something I typically do, so it will be very, very different. But again, thank you for coming tonight. It's different circumstances this year, and I think you'll see that a little bit in our devotion for this evening. We want to be respectful of your time. We will be finished by 7 o'clock tonight. There will be a link that will be broadcast to you that you can ask questions to, and we'll make that available tomorrow night as well, so that if we don't cover some of the things that you need to know from parent forums or that you need to know from this evening, we will have answers out to you over the coming days on that. But again, our goal is to be out of here at 7 o'clock or a couple minutes after this evening. And, you know, we're going to try one of our new sanitizers in here. There's a fog machine that CDC says is about the best thing we can do, and we're putting that in my hands. So if you watch the reruns of Home Improvement, I will be Tim the Tool Man Taylor with a new toy this evening. Again, thanks for coming. We have a lot of information, and different from our parent forums or our one calls, you're actually going to hear from a panel of professionals here. Mrs. Smith, who is our Director of Online Learning and Director of Technology, Mrs. Ree and Ms. Schnell, who are lower school and middle school directors, Mrs. Chapman, Director of Recruitment and Enrollment Management and Marketing, Mrs. Blayhut, who is in charge of educational entrepreneurial programs, and also in the back we have Mrs. Moeller and Mrs. Wiechek for different things this evening. Our devotion is Just Say No, and it's from Psalm 27, verses 1 to 3. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked came against me to eat up my flesh, my enemies and foes, they stumbled and fell. Though an army may encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this I will be confident. I want to tell you a story about Pastor Jay and myself. I took Pastor Jay hunting, and we decided to go out deep into the woods, and all of a sudden we ran into a bear so big that it frightened us that we dropped our rifles and started running. Well, I'm a little more, I guess, ambitious than Pastor, so I found a tree and I climbed up the tree. Pastor found a cave and ran into the cave. About a minute or two later, the bear came right out to the tree and looked, and it was patient because it knew at some point I had to come down, except I had my cell phone and I was calling absolutely everybody frantically to get somebody in there to scare away the bear. Pastor Jay went into the cave, and about 30 seconds later, he ran out of the cave. Then he came right face to face with the bear, and he ran back in the cave. And about 30 seconds later, he ran back out of the cave. On the third time, I yelled down to him and said, "Pastor, are you crazy? Stay in the cave till he leaves." And Pastor said, "I can't. There's another bear in there as well." Do you ever feel like fear is giving us the runaround? And I don't mean tonight to be political at all. But I guess it kind of gives you the very fabric for those of you that are here and for those of you that are online of where I am. Our world right now is a scary place. I'm not going to lie to you. Each and every day that I come into school, the first thing I do walking across the parking lot is to pray to God that our students, our staff, and myself will be delivered. The last thing I will do tonight when I leave is the same thing, because there are a lot of things that are unanswered right now. We think about the scary things going on in our world right now that are beyond coronavirus, but might be economic despair, civil unrest, People not knowing if they're going to have a job in 2 weeks. Yesterday, a friend of mine in New York emailed me to tell me that the Catholic school system in New York City, the Archdiocese, was shutting down 20 schools. That's frightening. And I fall to my knees and I look to the heavens and I ask God, boy, thank you. And why not us? You see, God has not called us to live in fear. He's called us to stand strong in His confidence, knowing that He is in control. He's called us to live lives of power, love, and a sound mind, but to have faith in Him and walk in His ways. Dr. E. Stanley Jones said, I am inwardly fashioned for faith, not for fear. Fear is not my native land, faith is. I am so made that worry and anxiety are sand in the machinery of life. Faith is the oil. I live better by faith and confidence than by fear, doubt, and anxiety. Each day, right now, is one where the bears of life chase us up a tree, chase us into the cave, but we know that God will walk with us each and every day. Let's say no to fear. Let us determine to put our hope in the Lord each and every day. We ask His blessing upon us today and every day. Moving into our agenda for this evening, arrival and departure locations. Today you got a map emailed to you. You can refer to it. What I'm going to do to make it more helpful for everyone, starting Thursday through next Friday, I will be in the parking lot from 7:30 in the morning to 8:45 every day. You come in and I will help direct you in the way that you will go. So you'll get an idea with that. If you need to do it a second time, that's fine. If you have multiple children at different levels, I will help you. We are in complete compliance with the health department with this. Our middle school students will enter at the main entrance, where everybody did last year. Our ELC students will enter at the flag court. Our students that are of day school age in usage of the ELC, not traditional student, will enter at the doorway just up from the flag court. Our grades 2 through 5 will enter through the church entrance here, not where it says worship center, but by the green awning. In kindergarten and first grade will enter on Philadelphia Road. We have completely separated all of the different groups on campus, and Mrs. Blayhut will talk more about that later. I want to call attention to the link that will be sent up for under a Google program for questions that you would have, and Mrs. Smith will talk more about that. And I can't, not do marketing work at the same time. You see, we have the Trinity Lawn signs. They came in. If you want, you take. We also have information with Mrs. Wiechek in the back. Refer a friend. Enrollment right now, we're anticipating being up between 30 and 35%. God is good. At the same time, we are socially distancing, that we will not have more than 12 in a class until the CDC opens it up for more than 12 in a class, if they do. Again, we follow completely the health department, and people would say, how did you come to 12? We measured our building, every classroom, every hallway, every bathroom, divided it by the number of classrooms, and that's where we were okayed to have 12 per classroom. So where do you come in with that? With refer a friend and lawn sign? Refer a friend, $750 tuition reimbursement to you. And right now, folks, we're closing in on third sections in some classes. We need your help with that. But again, I go back to the beginning. God certainly is good to us. And, we've been faithful. and I know that he will bless us with all of this. And again, 7:30 to 8:45 this Thursday through next Friday, rain or shine, I'll be out in the parking lot to help you through. I now ask Mrs. Smith to come up. And sorry, Mr. Coughlin. Thank you once again, everyone, for coming this evening.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about the different educational pathways that we are offering this year. First of all, we have the traditional pathway. That is where your student will be in school. You will have access to financial aid, and your student will have a spot saved in the classroom. At any point in the year, you can decide whether you want your child to learn in the classroom or at home. So if you feel more comfortable having your child start the year at home, but want that spot available should you decide to return at some point later in the year, that spot will be saved for you. That's part of the traditional pathway. If you do decide that you want to change your child's placement, whether at home or at school, please just give us 24 hours notice so that we can make sure that the materials are available for you. You will also have access to a school-provided device, and you will have access to all of the special area classes and core classes. Now, our other offering is the online-only pathway. For this one, you will not have access to financial aid, but you will have access to boost funding. In this pathway, your students will be learning at home only for the entire year. You will be using your own device at home, and you will have access to the core classes only. But this gives you a unique opportunity to earn those special area credits in a way of your choosing. So for example, if your child participates in Taekwondo, you could count that as your physical education credit. Or if your child plays an instrument, you could submit a video of your child playing a song, and that would count as your music credit. So it does give you some freedom and flexibility for the online pathway. All right, and then next I'm going to be talking about attendance. If you obviously are in person in the class, if your child is in class, they will be marked present. But we also have some tardy guidelines that we need to talk about. And Mrs. Schnell and Mrs. Ree will go into a little bit more detail about this. One thing that we are changing is because of staffing and our new entry procedures, we will be temperature checking every student as they come into the building, and we will need staff at each one of the new entrances in order to do that. So therefore, students must arrive by 8:30 if they are in middle school, or by 9 o'clock if they are in lower school. After that point, the staff members that are stationed at the doors will need to move on to their other locations where they will be stationed throughout the day, which may be a classroom or an office. So we will not have anyone at those doors beyond that point. At that point, if you are arriving past 8:30 for middle school or past 9 o'clock for lower school, you can learn from home that day. In addition, if you have any type of an appointment, doctor's appointment, dentist appointment, and you need to leave school, you will not be able to re-enter the school after that appointment. You will be learning from home for the rest of the day. And you will be counted as present as long as your child logs on and accesses their classwork by 9 p.m. If the students are learning from home, the way you will be marked present is by either attending the live classes or by logging on to complete their daily work asynchronously by 9 p.m. Because of just all of the unusual situations this year, we're not going to stress anyone out with trying to earn a perfect attendance award. So don't worry about that. We're just going to make sure that the goal is to make sure that you are able to get to the work, get to the classes, and learn what you need to learn. So don't stress about perfect attendance. All right, finally, my next thing that I want to talk about is devices. Your child will have access to either an iPad, laptop, or Chromebook. Each child will be assigned one device that will be in use only by them. If you would like to use this device at home, you may pay a $100 deposit and sign a tech agreement in order to receive access to that device at home. If you have a device at home already and you don't want your child to have to bring it back and forth, then you can use your school device in school, use your home device at home, and you won't have to worry about paying the deposit. The other thing that we would like parents to provide is some type of a case for the device. I've got a couple of examples here. This is a really nice case that I found on Amazon for about 15 bucks. And with the iPads, you have some options as well. You could get a carrying case like this, or a more rugged case that looks something like this. Those are some options for the iPads. And then you could put those inside a carrying case. The reason we are asking parents to supply these is that way we don't need to find some type of storage for 200 bags. And then also you have the bag after you're done using the device, and it's yours, and you can use it however you wish. Kindergarten through 5th grade will be using a website called Seesaw to access their classwork. And 6th through 8th grade will be accessing Google Classroom. And the 5th graders will receive training throughout the year so that they can progress from Seesaw into Google Classroom. All of the students need to sign the tech policy that you were emailed today, every student in kindergarten through 8th grade. But only those who are borrowing devices to be used at home will need to sign the device agreement that was also mailed today. One new thing that you will find in the tech policy is Zoom etiquette. So this is something that we have added. We want to make sure the students understand that when they are at home watching a live class via Zoom, that they should behave as if they are sitting in the classroom. We have some standards of etiquette and behavior that we are asking them to follow, just as if they were sitting in the classroom with their classmates, such as wearing their uniform, listening respectfully, and being a productive member of the classroom community. And I think that is all I am covering today, and I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Rhee and Mrs. Schnell.
Okay. If we could have the slide of the, oh, it's up there. Okay, thank you. I'm Mrs. Rhee, the lower school director, and Mrs. Schnell made a very nice chart of our arrival and departure times. Mr. Gast already talked about the different entrances that are going to be used, and we have put those on the chart for you, the different grade levels, the arrival times, and the dismissal times. So what we're trying to do is to stagger the times, and again, it may take a lot longer in the beginning as to everyone getting used to the system and so forth. And of course with dismissal as well, we're trying to stagger the times so that we can keep as socially distanced as possible, and then with, again, the number of vehicles in the parking lot. And I think Mrs. Smith covered about lateness and so forth. So with the lower school, students will not be admitted after 9 o'clock, and they will need to learn virtually that day. With the middle school, again, they're at the main school entrance, and if you see there, their different arrival times for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and then their different dismissal times as well as when the teachers will be bringing them outside. And again, with middle school, students will not be admitted after 8:30, and again, they will have to be virtual that particular day. Also, and I don't think this was covered, if you have doctor and dental appointments in the day, and let's say it's first thing in the morning, again, you're probably going to be after 8:30 or 9 o'clock. The student will have to virtual learn that day. Same thing if you come to pull them out of school, they won't be coming back in the building on that day. They can come the next day. So again, once we get the system running, we will see how it goes, work out any kinks in the system, and hopefully it will run smoothly. Okay, Mrs. Schnell is next with her portion.
A couple facts about the classroom. As we all know already, that there'll be 12 in each room, and they're going to be socially distanced apart. A little bit about the middle school. The classes are a 6-period day with 1 hour long period, which gives enough time for teachers to rotate from one classroom to the other. The students are going to remain in the classroom for middle school. So the class times will also change on Wednesday, so we are including our chapel, which is going to be virtual at first. Your schedules are going to be delivered for middle school come next week, so those that are learning virtually will know exactly what class to key into, and you'll be giving more information on how to share that link from your homeroom classes. Also, the classes, the way they were divided for middle school is first we had to think about how many people are going to be present. So we wanted to make each class even. We didn't want to have one class have 2 in a class and the other class have 10. So the way we are dividing it first and foremost is to divide it equally so there's the same amount of people in each classroom. So it's not based on their knowledge, it's not based on any part of their academics. We will be teaching everybody with differentiation. Specials, for our specials, they're also going to travel to the classrooms. They're going to have PE, music, art, Spanish, and library for K through 5. The classes for art and Spanish are going to alternate by semesters. The reason why we did this is as much as we want your children to be safe, we also want our teachers to be safe. So the art teacher will stay in the elementary first, the Spanish teacher will stay in the middle school first. Grading. The lower school is still going to continue with specials with the proficient P, the steady growth S, and the N for needs improvement. In middle school, we're going to go to a pass or fail, but they must have above 70% total to be able to pass that particular special. PE classes. Weather permitting, we're going outside. So extreme weathers, obviously we're staying in somewhere, but above 40 degrees and below 90 degrees, we are outside. As long as the field or wherever we're going is properly drained and we don't have rain coming in. They are to wear their gym uniforms on days of gym. The shorts and t-shirts are permitted until October 31st, and then you can start wearing them again as of April 15th. And they consist of the Trinity Navy sweatpants, the sweatshirt, or the Trinity zip-up jacket in the middle school can also be worn. And sneakers are predominantly the white, black, gray, or navy. And just to put another side note, all equipment that we are using will be put to the side once one class is finished. They'll be sanitized before it's used again. So we have enough equipment to do that also. So we're going to pass back to Mrs. Reed.
Just some dress code reminders. Again, we're not going to go through the whole uniform thing tonight because that is all in our handbook online, but just some reminders that all students, kindergarten through 5th grade, okay, in the lower school may wear sneakers every day because we do plan on having them have recess every day. They're going to need to get outside and be able to run around and get the exercise and so forth. And then the middle school shoes should be worn with navy blue knee-high socks or stockings for girls and black, blue, or tan dress socks for boys. And again, you need to check the school website for the acceptable shoes for middle school. With hairstyles on students, again, any extreme styles are not acceptable and color is not permitted. We do not permit any mohawk or faux mohawk style, and the hair must be at least, this is for boys, of course, about 1/2 inch above the uniform shirt collar in the back and to the top of the ears and eyebrows, and hair may not be more than 2 inches high on top of the head. And I know girls would like to wear headbands, and they are permitted up to 2 inches in width, navy, black, or gray. And as far as watches are concerned, again, we don't want the students wearing things that are going to be a distraction to them. So if they do wear a watch, we ask that they wear the standard type and size, and the electronic smartwatches are not allowed, because again, that can be a distraction for them. So again, more information about the uniform and the dress code and so forth is in our handbook online. Thank you.
And I do have one additional piece of information. We have purchased, just for lack of better terms, I call them party tents, that, wedding receptions and the like, take place in. We've got two 20 by 20 tents right now, and we're looking at purchasing potentially 3 more just to enhance our outdoor opportunities for students throughout the daytime right now.
Well, I'm not that tall. I'm Amy Chapman. I want to talk a little bit about chapel this year. It will be different than it has been in the past, where we all normally come to the sanctuary together to worship. We will continue to hold it on Wednesdays, as Ms. Schnell had previously mentioned. Middle school chapel will be at 9:15, and lower school chapel will be at 10:15. You will be able to watch that from home through our YouTube channel, through Trinity Joppa, and then it will be broadcast to the classrooms. The students that are learning from home will also be expected to log in and participate in chapel as well. So those are the small changes we're making there. Mr. Gass will lead chapel here in the sanctuary with a small group of students, and that'll change throughout the year. I want to talk about the lunch system this year. We are, again, changing some things up to make sure that we keep our staff and our students safe. We will be having lunch in the classroom this year instead of going to Fellowship Hall and having a large group of students together. The way that we're going to protect everybody with that is we are instituting a nut-free school for this school year. That is a big change for us. We're asking that all parents please make sure that you read labels and that you are not sending things in that have any type of nut product in them, and that is for the protection of the staff and the students in the classroom. The lunches will be brought to the classroom if you choose to order lunch. We are requiring lunches to be ordered the night before this year. In the past, you've been able to come in, place your lunch order in the homeroom. This year, you will have to do it the night before and up until 6 a.m. the morning of. So that'll be a little bit of a change. So hopefully that'll give you enough time to plan and make sure that you have all the supplies you need at home. With the lunches, you'll be able to load lunch money to your child's account through the Easy School apps. Information will come out in a one-call on that next week, and then we'll be able to walk you through the process of setting up an account if you don't have one already, or getting back in if you have previously set one up in earlier years. Again, some new changes this year are bringing your own water bottle to school. I've got some examples of things that are not going to be acceptable and things that are. Our water fountains are closed for the year. They are, your child will not be able to access them or fill up water throughout the day. So I'm going to grab a couple of my props. These types of containers that are open with just a straw are not acceptable. Open coffee mug type containers are not acceptable. And Tervis type tumblers with the slide lid are not acceptable either. What we're looking for your child to bring in is either a disposable water bottle, which is the best option. That way it can be thrown out before they go home for the end of the school day, or a plastic container that has a locking mechanism and a spout that opens or a straw that opens, but can be closed and secured so that in the event somebody knocks it off of the desk, nobody spills it. So hopefully those are easy for you to find. Next, I'm going to talk about masks. In the information that was sent home, there's some guidance on how to get your children familiar with wearing masks and what the requirements are, as well as some hygiene for masks themselves and how to help your children work through that. A lot of them haven't been out in a while or aren't consistently wearing masks because they're staying at home, which is great. But while they're in school, they will have to wear masks except for the mask breaks that we take, as well as during physical education and lunch. We are asking this year that masks just be neat, clean, modest. Nothing that has wording all over it, nothing that has like a gigantic smile or anything like that. Kind of things that are plain would be fine. We are asking not to have them wear a bandana. Those are found not to be as effective if you just fold them and put them like that. But masks that have loops are great. Masks that have strings can be a little bit troublesome, especially for our younger kids. They will have to take them off during the day. So they need to be able to do that on their own. We're encouraging the teachers not to help them so that the children can be as independent as possible. I would also recommend that you send in an additional mask labeled in a bag to keep in your child's backpack or with their supplies. You never know what's going to happen. They could sneeze, and it could be messy. So having that backup mask will be helpful. We will have disposable masks here for anybody that does forget one, but please try to encourage your child to have their own mask and have a spare in their backpack. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the supplies for the year. We have sent home previously the supplies list. If you don't have one, it is available on our website under the Back to School corner. Most of the supplies on there are a repeat from last year. We are going to add some additions, and that will be coming out next week. Middle school has requested that each child bring in a milk crate to keep their belongings in the middle school classrooms, and that will come out next week in a one call. And then the lower school, I believe, also would like milk crate. Okay. Perfect. So just stay tuned. You might get some additional information and guidance from your teachers specifically for that. As Mrs. Smith had mentioned, we will be requiring some kind of case or for your devices that you're taking to and from school. So that wasn't on the original supplies list. The biggest thing is, obviously, we cannot allow parents to come into the building, especially on the first day of school, where a lot of parents have in the past. We've required things like paper towels, tissue boxes, reams of paper, and things like that. This year, what we're requesting on those first couple of days of school is just send your child with their personal supplies. Bring in the things like the paper towels and the tissue boxes later in the week. You can send them in one at a time. If they've got 3 packages of notebook paper, send in one on the first day, send in another on the next day. Please take your time sending them in, then that way nobody is overloaded on that first day, and the teachers already know that that's going to be how it's coming this year. Okay. And I think that's it. April Blayhut is up next.
Good evening. Okay, that's a little loud. I maybe didn't need to take the mask off. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about a couple things today. I am the Director of Educational Services and Entrepreneurial Programs. What I'm going to be talking about first is with our educational services, with regards to our students who have exceptionalities. We will be doing things a bit differently this year. For those that are in class, we will have an actual plan that will say what's going to happen if we're in class, what's going to happen if if the government shuts everything down. We'll have a contingency plan on there, so the additional services that way, as well as we'll be showing exactly what you will have both. So last year we had to really work very quickly to get services together for our students. This summer we did compensatory students for those that had a kind of a fallback due to being online. We're doing it ahead of time, like just in case. As well as for those who are virtual, it will look a little different as well. If you are not in the school, pulling you from the classroom is a lot more difficult. We will be having office hours for our kids with exceptionalities where they can sign up to meet with one of our special educators. We do have currently 2 special educators, one in the middle school, one in the lower school. So we'll be making sure that our special educators are there for our students as needed. With regards to sanitation and safety, couple things I wanted to go over. If you've heard this, that's a good thing. That means we've been doing our job communicating to you exactly how we're going to keep your kids safe. I know that's important to me as a mom, so I hope hearing again is not going to be too much of an inconvenience. There's a couple of things. The first thing I want to talk about is how we are being preventative. I think it's important that you understand that we've taken the time to think about what could happen. Are we going to be 100% of knowing everything that's going to come down the pike? No, but we've done our research. We've spoken with those that have done this already, those that have been, our daycare's been doing it during this entire time. So we're kind of leveraging the information that we're getting from governmental, from other schools, from daycare centers, just so that we have the best possible plan in place. A few of the things that we've taken into account and that we're doing, one is that our children and our staff are screened each day upon entry for any symptoms as well as elevated temperatures. Understand that the same rules that apply to your students apply to our staff. Our classroom ratio is 1 to 12, which was said earlier, providing for a minimum of 6 feet social distancing between desks, sometimes more. We're having the staggered arrival times. We've implemented social distancing strategies that include things like our staff having their own equipment and not sharing that. We have labeled our hallways so that individuals know where to stay when they're in the hall, either entering the school or leaving the school. Those types of things are already in place. We have the intensity of cleaning. Now, we've been doing this all, like I said, for our daycare, but our staff is trained. Our cleaning staff will be, this summer they've been in the bathrooms at 4 times a day. Plus at night we do a very deep cleaning so that every surface that's being touched by students is taken care of. We're going to be asking our staff to kind of modify how much they have personal things available to be touched, because the more things that are out, the more that can be touched. If it's, in my case, like if you were to walk in my office, I have like little cars. All those things that aren't necessary will be coming out so kids aren't touching needlessly, and so other adults aren't either. We're also going to be, we've modified the drop-off and pickup procedures. As far as the drinking fountains, we've eliminated that. So those are all precautions. Additionally, we've talked about the students remaining in their classrooms. With cleaning, we actually have, we've talked about the lunches in the classroom. So a lot of the cleaning stuff, Mr. Gass talked about the fogger, it's literally down to the detail, every single surface that's touched by kids. Additionally, we have the hand sanitizers. Teachers are going to be asked to sanitize their hands when they leave a classroom and when they go into classrooms. And the reason for that is because the teachers are the ones moving. So if I'm the art teacher going from kindergarten to first grade, I'm going to want to make sure that I'm not carrying anything that I touched here into this one. So we've thought through all of those pieces. We also are going to give some training and some direct instruction, one of which is going to be when to stay home. I think it's important to note that if you're a little sick, there's not a little sick anymore. You're sick or you're not sick. So stay home if you're sick. We are going to talk about some of those specifics. Your fever. If you have a fever, I'm pulling up my, one moment. If you have a fever, I'll send these out, but if you have a fever, if you have a cough, if you have a sore throat, any of those symptoms that are symptomatic, we have to treat it until we know better. Basically, we're going to treat it as if it's an issue until we know better. Once we go through and we find that you're clear, absolutely come back. But it's one of those things where if you have those symptoms, we'll ask you to go see your doctor. We will take the appropriate steps. What I can tell you, one of the neat things that we've set up here that I haven't seen everywhere is the cohort system. So what you'll see is that if I'm in kindergarten or first grade, there's not interaction with the rest of the school building. Therefore, that cohort is the only ones impacted. What we found is that the 2nd through 5th, the only ones impacted, just in case someone does get sick. We have to be realistic and in planning. Middle school, the only cohort impacted. So you don't have that mixture of students, and that's what we've been doing as well in the daycare. We're modeling a lot of this off that one cohort. Only the kids in that room are impacted. So to really kind of minimize exposure, minimize risk, minimize closed school time, we've kind of thought through some of that. The way what's gonna happen is if we do have a kid that's sick, when they're here, we have our nurse's office set up, so we have a sick room and a well room. If a sick child is coming, they're going to the sick room. If a well child's coming to get their inhaler or take a daily medication that they get here, they're in a different room altogether. So we've taken the precaution to make sure that your kid who has asthma and needs their inhaler is not going to interact with, someone who may be not feeling well. Some of the things, too, we're going to be really focusing on is making sure that everyone knows how to wash their hands properly and when to wash their hands. We'll be doing the hand washing breaks. We're going to have posters all over. They're bigger than this, but these are examples. Of course, these will be in the little people's area. Teenagers are not going to want us having this in their bathroom. So we'll have some big people ones, or preteens. I guess they're preteens still. So those kinds of things that you have to consider. Also know that we don't make diagnosis. We're not doctors. I'm not a doctor. None of the staff here are doctors, so we don't make diagnosis. What we try to do is we gather the information, and then we send it out to the Maryland Department of Health, and they tell us, they give us the guidance. We're in touch with them constantly. They've been very good about getting back to us and talking us through it. So understand that we have those open lines of communication. We know we won't be diagnosing anything. Hopefully, honestly, we're as blessed as we've been. We haven't had a case, and like I said, we've been here since March, when in the heat of everything, we've been here. We've been seeing students here on a daily basis. We've had the first responder kids, the kids of first responders who have exposure in a much higher risk, and we've been very, very blessed. So we're really hopeful that we can continue that, and I hope you all understand. I have confidence. I'm here every day. My daughter is doing work around here, and I'm confident enough to do that. So I've been here all summer, and so I do feel like we've done a really good job. Some of the reasons to stay home, now that it did pop up, we're looking at things like, I said 100.4, cough, shortness of breath. Any of these, especially the first day of school, if they're just a little, it's not just a little, vomiting, diarrhea, rashes, shaking and chills. I'm going to send an actual list out, because what I want you all to do is, when you're checking of whether or not to come, whether or not your kids should come, I want you to have a checklist that you can say, okay, that's on there. And most things are. And that's basically it from the standpoint of safety and sanitation. Thank you all.
Just a couple of things that I wanted to go over in closing. For students that are kindergarten through 2nd grade, we have purchased clear masks for our teachers, because we realize that development at that age level for students to see the actual lips move, for sounds and that, are important. So every teacher, kindergarten through 2nd grade and their aides, have a clear mask, and they have the shield at the same point that they can do, because this could be an impediment to your child learning at that grade level. So we've taken, that step to take care of that. A comment, every time that we have someone that displays 2 of the symptoms that Mrs. Blayhut talked about, we report to the Harford County Center for Disease Control and to the health department. So when she said that we don't make diagnoses, we don't. we report the facts with that. So all of that goes to make sure that we are by the book, and I can tell you since March 13th, we have been by the book. When she tells you we clean 4 times a day, we do clean 4 times a day, the deep cleaning, and then on weekends, a full bleach treatment goes in every bathroom. The bleach is mixed with water, and as you would look at a sprayer that you would go out to spray your lawn with, the bathroom is sprayed down with that. Realizing that some students have difficulty with bleach, the second spraying is clear water to wipe that off with it. The nurses' stations are different this year. There are 2 of them. In the ELC, that will be down in the traditional area. K to 8 will be upstairs. And again, thank you, Mrs. Blayhut, with that explanation. Every inch of space that can be used for education is used for education, okay? And it's great. In fact, that's why I'm trying to figure out where do I stick another 10 or 15 students right now. I want to say thank you to our panel. I want to thank, Mrs. Chapman, Mrs. Ree, Mrs. Schnell, Mrs. Blayhut, Mrs. Smith. I want to thank Mrs. Moeller and Mrs. Wiechek. I want to thank the Coughlins who are upstairs, because as you watch our YouTubes and that from church and school, they're here all the time, as are the Smiths, with making sure technology goes. Tonight I want to thank returning parents that are here and also online. You have been a lifeblood for us. You really have during this pandemic. New parents that are here, you needed to see our faces a little bit and kind of see how we operate. We're asking for your patience. As was said a couple times here tonight, we still don't have all the answers, but you know what? We have been very blessed for 5 months, and I see some people here that have entrusted their children to us over those 5 months, and I think they can confirm the safety pieces that we've put in place over that time. Going back to the devotion, turning it around right now. Fear versus faith. If you ask me, are you fearful at all? Sometimes this probably isn't the answer people want to hear from a chief administrator, you bet. Okay, but I've chosen to put my faith in Almighty God to take care of us during this time. I'm excited about opening a school year. I have missed your students. They are the oxygen in my breath of life. But at the same time, as excited as I am to open this, my 42nd year of opening a school year, this one might be the one that has me the most anxious. And I'm going to be honest with you and share that, because I don't have all the answers with that. So we ask for your prayers for each one of us as well as for your children. Again, 7:30 to 8:45, Thursday through next Friday, I'll be out there. Hopefully, Mr. Wilhelm will provide a tractor for me to lead you around if you have multiple students, so we can show you where you need to go. Mr. Coughlin shot a video with me today. We'll continue to shoot YouTube videos just to kind of give you an idea of what is going on. We thank you for being with us tonight. This means a great deal to all of us. And, for all of us to get through the year, it is going to be a team effort grounded in the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ. So in closing tonight, please join me in closing in prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for bringing us to the beginning of the 2020-2021 academic year. We thank you for parents. We thank you for students. We thank you for staff. We thank you that you give us the opportunity to study in your kingdom, and we ask your blessing upon us during these days of fear in our country and our world, and with the pandemic, that we fix our eyes on you, the author and perfecter of our faith, that we give you thanks for the joy that you place in our hearts. We give you thanks for serving you in your kingdom as staff, as there is no higher calling than bringing up children in the strength and admonition that you have set forth for us. We ask that you would walk with us on this uncharted journey this fall, And that at times when we don't have answers, you would place us on your back and carry us. We ask that you would be with us on our way home tonight and that you would continue to watch over us with the safety and the loving arms that you alone can do. All of these things we ask and thank you in your Son's name. Amen. Folks, again, thank you for coming tonight. And if you have questions, again, address them on the link and we will get answers back to you, probably in one document later this week. Have a blessed evening, everyone.